Uh, Good morning to all the participants. I welcome you all for the day 3 of PSPC class. Okay, so according to the schedule that is shared with you all, today is the third day, and I will be covering control structures, the various control structures that are available in C. Control structure, I mean various decision making, branching as well as looping features available in C. I'll be covering the very basics. The detailed aspects of usage of these things will be covered in the from tomorrow session onwards, wherein individual faculty will be covering the solutions to all the assignment questions, and internally when they cover the solution you would also understand the syntax for the exact usage of those things given a problem definition. So today I will be taking some trivial problem definitions and showing you various syntaxes for decision making, branching as well as looping features available in C. So the first decision making. So today we'll start with the decision making, branching and looping. The first decision making, in fact, in the yesterday's session, we already saw one operator, which is ternary operator, with which you can implement simple decision making problems. But more complex decision making problems like finding the greatest of three numbers or four numbers or other real world problems, solving them using ternary operator, of course it is possible, but the code becomes highly unreadable and it is not a good practice to use a ternary operator for decision making, right? So another best approach would be to use the feature, built-in feature available in fact any programming language. In C also it supports decision making and branching in the form of if statements. So there are four forms of if. One is simple if. There are actually four forms of if. One is a simple if. Okay, the second one is, I'll open one text file, a.txt. So there I will type, there are four ways to perform decision making and branching. It is actually called as branching because after taking a decision you take that particular option or that branch. So the first way is using simple if. Second one is if else. Third one is nested if. Fourth one is else if ladder. Okay, so C provides these many decision making and branching features available in C. And when we talk about decision making and looping, okay, there are three types of loops available, ways to perform decision making and looping. So you might be wondering as to why this decision making word or this keyword appears twice over here. That is because uh, in the first scenario you simply do the decision making and then branch, like in the previous session we considered the example of finding whether a number is even or odd. There what we did was we checked whether that number is divisible by 2, and if the remainder is 0 we took the branch of deciding that the number is even, else we took the decision of deciding that the number is odd. So this is called as branching. So that num mod 2 is called as decision making, and printing whether a number is even or odd is called as branching. In looping also we do the decision making. So based on that condition checking we perform the loop. We decide how that loop should run. So this decision making is common, but based on the problem definition, you after making a decision or after writing the condition you either branch or you either loop. Okay, so there are in fact three ways to perform loops in your C. uh, One is using the while loop, right? The second one is using for loop, and the third one is using do while loop. Okay, so I'll be talking about these things in brief with simple examples for each one of them, right? mm, you can also use instead of else if ladder you can also use a switch statement. Okay, but there are some restrictions for switch statement. I might not cover the switch statement in detail. Let's see if the time permits, I will also cover that. Otherwise we can just refer it from the textbook, or if in the forthcoming sessions, if there are some programs which use switch statement, then the faculty responsible for that will be taking that program in detail. There also you will learn this switch statement. Okay, so three ways of looping: while loop, for loop, and do while loop. And this while and do while, sorry, while and for are they come under a category of entry controlled loops, right? And do while comes under a category of exit controlled loop. I'll talk about what is the difference, exact difference between entry controlled and exit controlled loop when I take up that part. So till that I will just defer this discussion. So without wasting further time, or without waiting for further time, we will start with these four. First I will tell you the syntax of simple if. So I will close this file, right? So I'll create one program called simple if.c, right? So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate you the division of uh, two numbers. But you all know that while performing division, the uh, divisor or the RHS of that division operator should not be 0. So if you are performing C equal to A by B, B should not be 0, because if it is 0, then division cannot be performed. So how do I ensure that B is not 0? Means I should perform the division only when B is not 0. So in such scenarios, I can use simple if. So this goes like this. Here the problem definition is not so important in such programs, or the program that I am writing here. The program focuses more on the usage of those decision making and branching features rather than the problem definition, because problem definition weightage will be more in the forthcoming sessions from tomorrow onwards, wherein they will be discussing the solutions for each of the assignments as well as the lab term works, right? So there the problem definition is important. Here as of now, just try to learn the syntax. Okay, so stdio.h, then int main, then I will declare it three variables: a equal to 0, b equal to 0, c equal to 0. So I want to perform, let me make c as a float because it's a division. So c equal to 0 0.0. Then I'll enter a and b from the user. Printf, enter the values of a and b. Scanf, two percentage d's because both are of type integer. Double quote complete, comma, ampersand a, comma, ampersand b, right? So before I go ahead with the typing this like c equal to a by b, I need to ensure that the value of b that is entered from the user is not equal to 0. Then only you can go ahead with the division. So I will write if b is not equal to 0, then only you need to perform the division and print the result, c equal to a by b. And I'll typecast it to float because I know that I want to I want to store the answer in C, and that C should have a valid decimal number. So I'm typecasting it. This was discussed in the yesterday's session. So I hope that part was clear. So I'll go ahead with the printing the result. So I'll write result equal to percentage f backslash n comma c, right? So this is the actual syntax of if. So how do you write if? You write if as a keyword. So you can see here this if is been shown with some yellow color, right? Because if is a keyword, and after writing if, you write that condition. This is what we call it as decision making, or that condition wherein I have used a relational operator uh, in a pair of parenthesis, in a pair of rounded brackets. I write that condition. Here what is the condition? You are checking whether b is not equal to 0. Only when, if and only when b is not equal to 0, you go ahead with performing the division and print the result. If the value of b is not, suppose it is equal to 0, you can just print the you can just don't perform any division after that, right? So this is the usage of simple if. Okay, so it will print the result, this program will print the result if and only if the b is actually not equal to 0. So this is the syntax of if. So the syntax of if again goes like this, I'll repeat. You need to use the keyword called if. After that you write a pair of parentheses. Inside this you would be ideally writing a decision making statement, or in other words you will be either writing a relational expression or a logical expression. A relational expression is a one which involves relational operators. A logical expression is a one which involves logical operators, and multiple, you are connecting multiple relational operators with a logical operator, right? So you are ensuring that b is not equal to 0, then only you go ahead with the division. And these two lines of code that are to be executed, or that will be executed only if b is not equal to 0. So this forms the body of the if. So how do I specify body of the if? With a pair of flower brackets. You can observe even for main I have done the same thing. I have specified a pair of flower brackets, means opening and closing flower brackets, as a body of the main. So whatever the statements that you have written here, starting from int a equal to 0 till return 0, all these statements form the body of main, right? So whenever you open a left flower bracket and after some time you close it right with the right flower bracket, whatever you write inside that will be considered as the body of that particular feature. So same thing I am doing it here. These two statements, c equal to a by b and printf result c, will be considered as the body of the if. So this body of if will be executed only when this condition is satisfied. And what is that condition? If b is not equal to 0, then only you perform the division. Otherwise, don't perform the division and don't print the result. So this is the syntax of simple if. So I am calling this a simple if because I have used only one if and there is no corresponding else for this. Hence the name simple if. I hope you understood the meaning of simple if. If there are any doubts, please let me know the doubts. Please let me know your doubts. Okay. Hope it is clear. Okay, right. I'll go ahead. Fine. So I'll now compile this program escape colon wq cc simple if dot c dot slash a dot out, enter. So first I will enter two numbers. I'll ensure that b is not 0. So you can see here it has printed the result. In fact, this program also was demonstrated previously in the yesterday's session, but we had not used if there. Right. Now what if I do the value of b, or what if I enter the value of b as 0? What you observe here is when you enter the value of b as 0, the program did not give any output. The reason is because the program uses a simple if and it performs the division if and only if b is non-zero, right? So this is how you can ensure that condition checking using simple if, right? So this is the program that demonstrates the use of simple if. Okay, right. So this is about the first decision making and branching feature available in C called as simple if. Now the second, now I will open this program, this file a.txt. So this is about simple if. We also have something called as if else. The usage of if else is very common. In fact, usage of simple if is very rare. It is rarely used in real world problem definitions. Most of the time we use if else because if one condition is not satisfied, I should choose the other option, correct? So what do I mean by that is, here what if the value of b equal to 0? This program doesn't take any steps or any measures when b equal to 0. It simply ignores that condition. So b, if I enter it as 0, it doesn't go ahead with performing any of the operations, like it doesn't display that division is not possible, right? So to introduce that feature, what is that, if the value of b is 0, the program should print that division is not possible. Okay, how do I do it? With the help of if else. This is not possible with the help of simple if, but it is possible with the help of if else. So this is the syntax of if else. The syntax of if remains same. This is the syntax of else. Remember, when you are using else, you are not writing any square parenthesis and writing the condition over here, because else would be executed only the condition inside the if would have returned false. Hence there is no condition inside else. I have seen many students writing a condition like this inside else. This is not correct, or it is not there, it is an error, because else doesn't come with a pair of parenthesis, because there is no condition that needs to be checked for else, because the condition has already been checked in if. Only if this condition is not true, then it will execute the else part. Otherwise else part would not be executed at any cost, right? So that's the reason there is no condition checking for else like this, right? So don't ever make a mistake of writing a condition inside else, or after the else. There is no condition after the else, right? Fine. Then I should print printf, just a sec, printf double quote, I will say division not possible, right? So at least I with this if else, I am able to introduce that feature in my program. And what is that feature? If the value of b is 0, it should display that the division is not possible. Of course I can also write the reason saying like divisor is 0, hence division not possible. But here I'll just restrict myself to the simple messages inside printf. So I'll now compile this. So this is basically if else. If this condition is true, whatever you write inside the if in a pair of flower brackets, which is considered as the body of the if, gets executed. If this condition is not true, means it is false, it will come to the else part, and whatever you write inside the else in a pair of flower brackets will be acting as a body of the else, and only those things will be executed if this condition is not satisfied. Okay, fine. I'll now compile this program. Cc simple if dot slash a dot out. Now straight away I will go into entering this value. I will enter 10 and 0. This time you will see that the program prints to the user division not possible, which was not the case in this execution. Here it did not print any message. The reason was, using simple if you cannot handle the else condition, right? So only by using if else you will be able to do it. Okay, so this just by adding else for that particular if, I was able to get this type of message, right? But if I enter 10 and 20, the normal division goes ahead and prints the message. So here the body of if got executed in this case. In this case the body of else got executed. Okay, right. So this is about if else. I would also like to show one more program on if else. That program is the program that we wrote in the yesterday's session, that was finding whether a number is even or odd. So I am going to rewrite that program, or I am going to write that program using if else. So let me go ahead with that. Int main int num equal to 0. So I'm going to check whether that number is even or not, even or odd. In the previous session we used a ternary operator for doing this. This time I'll be using if else for implementing that. So I'll enter printf, enter a number, backslash n, scanf, percentage d, ampersand num. This time I'll check if num mod 2, if num mod 2 equal to 0. Recollect, yesterday we wrote this inside a ternary operator. So this condition was, this is a relational expression. This condition was written inside operand 1 of that ternary operator, right? Operand 2 was the printf statement that will act as the body of the if, and operand 2 of ternary operator after colon will act as a body of the else, right? So if the number mod 2 is 0, it means the remainder is 0, it means that number is even. So I will write printf percentage d is even, backslash n, and that number I need to display, else printf percentage d is odd, backslash n, at number, right? End the else part, return 0, close the main. So this is the program which is rewritten using if else. So this is the proper solution for that problem definition. You could of course have done it using ternary operator, but as I said, for such trivial problems, ternary operator of course can be used, but if the problem is more complex, then probably the usage of ternary operator is not recommended, because it greatly reduces the readability of the code. Of course the code will work when you compile and run it, the code will still execute, but the readability of that code, if you encounter any errors, you will not be able to debug it in a proper way. Hence proper way to write decision making and branching programs is by using if else and all those other aspects, okay, not by using ternary operators. Now I'm going to compile this program. I'll clear the screen. cc if else dot c dot slash a dot out, enter a number. So this time I'll enter say 25. We know that 25 is odd, so you can say 25 is odd is displayed. So it has displayed the body of the else. When I enter say 100, 100 is a even. You can see the condition inside if got executed, and the body of if got executed and printed 100 is even. Okay, so this is the simple program that demonstrates the use of if else, right? uh, Hope you have not got any uh, doubts regarding this. Fine. So this is the syntax of if else. You write if and then write else and write the body of the else. So when this condition is false, whatever you write inside the body of else, that will be executed. If this condition is true, then whatever is the body of if, immediate if, that gets executed. Okay, right. So this is about if else. Next we take up the nested if, right? What is nested if? It is one if inside another if. Okay, so for this I will consider one more problem definition. Again, problem definitions are not important in today's session. What you should concentrate on is the usage of the all these features, right? So at this stage, are is anyone having any doubts at this stage? Hope there are no doubts at this stage. Okay, so I'll continue. Right. uh, I'll now show the one say you can say an imaginary example of nested if. So I want to, the problem definition is like this: I want to check whether a number is divisible by both 2 and 3. Okay, so you might think what might be such numbers which are divisible by both 2 as well as 3. Take the example of 6. 6 is a number which is divisible by both 2 as well as 3, right? So when you enter that 6, it should display the number is divisible by 2 and 3. Otherwise it should say number is not divisible by 2 and 3, right? So how do I write such problems? For this, of course you can do it with if else also, but this time I'm going to try to solve this problem using nested if. So I'll create one program, I'll name it as nested if.c. okay, hash include stdio.h int main. Okay, I'll again go for entering that number, num equal to 0, printf, enter a number, \n, scanf, %d, ampersand num. Okay, so first I will check whether the number is divisible by 2. So how do I check that? This is how it is. Now, if the number is divisible by 2, I simply cannot display that that number is divisible by both 2 and 3. So I need to also check one more condition here, that if num mod 3 is double equal to 0. You can see over here what I have done is I have written one if inside another if. Hope you are able to clearly see this. I have written one if inside another if. This is what we refer to it as a nested if, right? So only when both the conditions are satisfied, then only you can say that the number is divisible by 2 and 3. If any one of this condition is not satisfied, right, then you have to say that the number is not divisible by both 2 and 3. So what should be the body of this innermost if? Yeah, there is one more convention that is used. This if is now referred to it as outermost if or outer if, and this is referred to it as inner if. And if you write one if inside another if, it becomes nested if. The same concept of nesting is followed in any of the features or all the features that are available in a programming language. So you can nest a while loop. What is the meaning of nesting a while loop? Writing one while loop inside another while loop. What is nested for loop? One for loop inside another for loop. What is nested function? One function inside another function. Okay, same way one if inside another if is referred to it as nested if. Okay, so in this case I will write printf %d is divisible by both 2 and 3. Okay, it is divisible by both 2 and 3. So I'll just print that number over here. Okay, now what if the number is not divisible by 3 but it is divisible by 2? In that case what you will write? You can write the else part of this if, right? So I'll write like that, else printf %d is not divisible by both 2 and 3 \n num. Okay, right. So this is the end of else. I think I will reduce the font size so that it gets displayed in a single screen. It will not overshoot the width of the screen, right? Of course the fonts is bit smaller. If you are watching it from the mobile, you might face difficulty in viewing that, but I will do it only for this program. For other programs I'll again increase the font size. Okay, so what I have done here is I will check whether that number is divisible by 2. If so, I will check whether that number is still divisible by 3. If it is done, if it is there, if that number is divisible by 3, I'll straight away print that the number is divisible by both 2 and 3. Say for example 6. 6 is divisible by both 2 and 3. But what if that number is divisible by 2 but it is not divisible by 3? Then my problem definition does not satisfy, so I should print that that number is not divisible by both 2 and 3. Say for example 4. 4 is divisible by 2 but it is not divisible by 3. In that case it will display this message that 4 is not divisible by both 2 and 3. So this is the end of if. So you can see here, this is actually referred to it as putting tabs after every statement, is referred to it as indentation. So clearly you can see from this that this else is the corresponding else of this if. Okay, so if you do not write indentation, deciding which else corresponds to which if is difficult. Okay, so this else will be executed only if the number is divisible by 2 but the number is not divisible by 3. Okay, now what if the number is not divisible by 2 at all? In that case, I must also write the same statement that number is not divisible by both 2 and 3. But if I simply leave that else part over here, but when the number is not divisible by 2, it will not enter this body of if at all. For solving this, I need to write else for the this if. So you can see here, this else is for this if, which is the body of the outermost if, and this else is for the outermost if. Okay, and one more thing, there cannot be any else without if. So if you write simply else without if, it is wrong, because simple else is not a feature available in C. You can use if without else. Okay, so I think I will write it later. You can use if without else, but you cannot use else without if. Okay, right. So this else will have the same printf message like %d is not divisible by both 2 and 3. Okay, so I am again repeating, the logic or the problem definition is not important for today's session. Even if you did not understand the problem definition, don't worry. If you are able to understand the syntax of nested if, that is more than enough. Okay, do not concentrate more on the problem definition for today's session. Only concentrate on the learning the syntax, because problems will be taken from tomorrow's session onwards in detail. Okay, right. So this is the syntax of nested if. So why I am calling this as nested if? Because there is one if inside another if. Okay, right. I am going to compile this now, colon wq, right? So I'm going to increase the font size again, cc nested if dot slash a dot out. Okay, so I'll now enter a number, say 6. I'll now enter a number 6. So 6 is both divisible by 2 and 3. So it prints 6 is divisible by both 2 and 3. Next, I will enter a number which is divisible by 2 but not by 3. So I'll enter 4. You can see here the number is not divisible by both 2 and 3. Okay, next, what if I enter a number which is divisible by 3 but not by 2? For example, 9 is a number which is divisible by 3 but not by 2. In such scenario also, the program should display that 9 is not divisible by both 2 and 3. You can see here it still displays that the number 9 is not divisible by both 2 and 3. So by inputting 3 different series of numbers or sets of numbers, I am able to check whether the program is logically or is proper or not. Okay, so this is the syntax of nested if. You are writing one if inside another if. This is the nested if. Okay, and inside this if, you can again have the corresponding else for this if, and this else is the corresponding if of this. This is the else which matches the outermost if. Okay, so right, so I'll write these statements here. Few points to be noted over here. Note, the first important thing is, uh, there can be if without else. Okay, there cannot be an else without if. Okay, So this is very, very important. Please remember this. And this is true in all the programming languages. Take any programming language which supports decision making and branching. This is true always. Okay. There can be an if without an else, but there cannot be an else without an if. Okay. Right. So these are very important statements I am making. Please remember it. Okay. Okay. So I hope you understood the syntax of nested if. Any doubts as such at this stage? Any doubts as such at this stage? I'm going to change the layout to tiled. Okay. Yeah. Hope there are no doubts at this stage. Okay. So I think I will now continue. The last part of the decision making and branching is your else if ladder. Okay. So if I open this here, we now covered simple if, we covered if else, we covered nested if. The last one is your else if ladder. Uh, One of the simplest example that I can take to demonstrate else if ladder is you are given the marks of a student, print the grade. Okay, so we'll just not take that example as is. We will learn how to use else if ladder. That will be the focus. Okay, so proper definition is not the actual focus. Learning the syntax is the focus, right? So we'll see why it is called as a ladder and why it is referred to it as a else if, right? So I'll come out of this file, create one more file, call it as elsif.c. Okay, right. So my program will read a marks of a student. So I will read the marks, int marks equal to 0, printf, enter the marks of a student. It doesn't matter which course marks it is. Okay, we are reading one marks of a single student. Okay, and simply printing the grade. Okay, the grade chart can be arbitrary. Okay, let's assume that we are following say our grading system of our college, right? So if the marks lies between 100 to 90, we know that the grade scored by that student for that particular course for that marks is S grade, right? So how do I now check whether the marks lies between these two ranges like 100 and 90? This is done using a logical expression. Okay, so just see here, an expression is a logical expression which has a logical operator, and you connect the logical operator with various relational operators, right? So how do I check that marks lies between 90 to 100? You first check whether the marks is greater than or equal to 90, put a logical and symbol, and check whether the marks is less than or equal to 100. If this is the case, see here what I have done. This entire decision making or this condition is referred to it as a logical expression because it involves a logical operator, and the LHS of this logical operator is a relational operator which checks whether the marks is greater than or equal to 90, and RHS of this logical AND is again a relational operator with less than or equal to as a relational operator which checks whether the marks is less than or equal to 100. So if I enter 91, see whether this condition is satisfied. Is the marks greater than or equal to 90? Yes, because I am assuming that marks is 91. So this condition is satisfied. So it returns 1. Right. So LHS now became 1. Right. So it is as good as. So for marks, I am going to write it as a comment here. For marks as say 91. Right. What happens? This condition in the LHS is marks greater than or equal to 90. It is true, so it returns 1, as is evident from the previous yesterday's discussion that if it is true it returns 1. In fact, we wrote printf there and it displayed 1 there. Next, is the marks less than or equal to 100? The answer is yes, the marks is less than or equal to 100 because the marks is 91. Okay, so RHS of this logical AND returns 1. And we saw the truth table of logical AND in the yesterday's session. We know that logical AND returns 1 if and only if both the operands are ones. So it returns 1. So what is the meaning of this returning 1? It means this condition inside if becomes true. Okay. So if any one of these two conditions is false, the logical AND returns false. False means it will not execute the body of the if. Okay. So I'll now erase this part. Continue with the program. Printf S grade. Right. Next. Now I want to print the condition for A grade. So I'll use else. We are actually not done with the program. We are supposed to print multiple grades given the marks in particular range. So I have S, A, B, C, D, E as well as F grades, right? So I cannot stop the program at this stage and say that the program only works for S grade. It should work for all the grades, right? So after the else, I need to check one more condition to check the grade for A grade. This is where else if ladder comes in, right? So after writing else, I again write one more if. Can you see here? This is the first if, and if this condition is not true, suppose you enter the marks as 89, this condition becomes false. 89 falls into A grade, right? So it will come to else part, and here again I need to write that code to check whether the marks lies between 75 to 89, right? So this is how we use else if ladder. So else, immediately write one if. This forms your else if ladder, as simple as that. So I'll check whether the marks is greater than or equal to 89, logical AND marks is less than or equal to 75. So if this is the case, you print that the grade obtained by the student is A grade. Again we are not done with that because there are other grades remaining. So again write else if marks less than, greater than or equal to 74, sorry, not 74, greater than or equal to 60, because I am interested in B grade. So marks is greater than or equal to 60 and marks is less than or equal to 74. So if the marks obtained by the student lies between 74 to 60, you print that as B grade. Okay, so I'll quickly go ahead with the remaining grades. You all know the grading procedure, so I'll take that liberty and go ahead with faster pace. C grade is between 50 to 59. So marks greater than or equal to 50, marks less than or equal to 59. If this is the case, you are printing that it is a C grade. Okay, again we are not done with all the grades. Else if marks is greater than or equal to 49 and marks is sorry, greater than or equal to 49, less than or equal to, I'm sorry, not 49, it is 40 CD, yeah, 41. Okay, marks is greater than or equal to 41 and marks less than or equal to 49. If this is the case, there might be some deviations from the actual grading procedure that is followed in our college, so you need to just excuse me for this. As I said, problem definition is not important for this. The understanding the syntax is important at this stage, right? So else if marks is greater than or equal to 40, in fact if the marks is 40, you say that it is E grade, right? So you can write like this. I think it is not 41, the it is between 45 to 49. Okay, and if the marks is between 40 40 to 44, you print that it is E grade. Of course there might be small deviation with the actual thing, you just need to ignore that. Okay, else if marks is in fact greater than or equal to 39, sorry, if the marks is less than or equal to, yeah, greater than or equal to 0 and marks is less than or equal to 39, then you are printing F grade. So you can see here how many grades are there, so many conditions are there. Okay, so this is the end of the condition checking, right. So that's it. So I'll write return 0. So it's a seemingly big program, right? It's a seemingly big program, but it is very simple. How many grades are there for a student? So many conditions are there. Starts with if, check if the grade is S. If not, you write one else if. Check whether the grade lies between A grade. Otherwise, write one more else if. Check whether it is B grade. Otherwise, write one more else if. Check whether it is C grade. Otherwise, write one more else if. Write one more else if. So on and so forth. Okay. Now you can observe this last if need not have the corresponding else for it. Okay. Okay. So this is the program, right? So this is the syntax of else if ladder. So you write if, and if this condition fails, you go for the else of that condition and write one more if. So this is else if. So what mistakes most of the students do at the initial stages, they will write else if without any space like this. You can see here when I do that, immediately the color changed. That yellow color tinge was suddenly disappeared. What this means is it is not a correct way of writing else if. So it should be written like this: else space if, else space if, like this. Okay, right? This is the actual syntax of else if ladder. Hope you understood the syntax. And one more thing, this last if need not have a matching else. Need not means it is optional. You can still use else for this last if, but it is optional. So in this case, I have not specified else for this particular if. Okay, but what if I want to use it? I can write it like this: else, and what the meaning of this? Printf invalid marks. Suppose I enter a marks which is above 100, correct? In that case, it should display that marks is invalid, right? So I can do this by writing this condition. Or what if I enter a marks which is negative? So you cannot have a marks with negative, and you cannot have a marks which is above 100 for that particular course, right? So in such case, if you write this else, it will handle that scenario also. So the last if, the corresponding else is optional. If you write it, most of the time you will write error handling conditions or error handling messages in this last else. Okay, so important point takeaway from this is the last if, there need not be a corresponding matching else for the last if. It is optional. Okay, and if used, most of the time you will be using that else for displaying the error messages or invalid messages, or like that. Okay, so I hope you are clear with the syntax of else if ladder. You can refer the flowchart of this all these four types of if else from the textbook. I'm not going to discuss that, right? So straight away I took the syntax part of it. Okay, so are there any doubts at this stage? Okay, no problem from my end regarding voice break. Okay, so hope there are no doubts with respect to this. Now I am going to compile this and run it. Escape colon wq cc elsif.c. So I'm not going to demonstrate for displaying all the grades. One or two marks I'll enter and check whether it is correct or not. So I'll now enter say 92. It should display S grade. When I enter say 85, it should display. Okay, there is some problem with the condition checking, I guess. Greater than or equal to. Okay, it should be, I'm sorry, it should be sorry, this A grade should be the other way around. It should be greater than or equal to 75, and it should be less than or equal to 89. Okay, so this is what happens if you make a mistake over here. So blindly if you make a mistake, this is what happens, right? So I should have checked whether the marks is greater than or equal to 75 and marks is less than or equal to 89. Then only you print that it is A grade. Okay. I hope that I have not done this mistake in other test conditions. Okay, I have not done it. Okay, it is correct, right? Fine. Now again I'll compile else if dot slash a dot out. I'll clear the screen to avoid confusions. I'll also increase the font size. Dot slash a dot out. Enter the marks of a student, say 85. So you can see at this time it is printing A grade. Since I have written the else for the last if, I can also check for error handling, like if I enter marks say 105, it will directly say invalid marks. And if I enter marks is negative, it will say invalid marks. Okay. But if you do not specify the last else, see what happens. I said it is optional. So if I don't specify last else for the last if, okay, then obviously it cannot have that condition checking for invalid marks, right? The program will not display the grade at all if you enter invalid marks. So this time I will enter 102. What you can see here is the grade is not displayed at all because there is no corresponding else which displays that invalid marks. Same thing will happen for entering marks as negative. It will not display any output. Okay. So the question is which one is correct. It all depends upon the user who is a developer who is writing the program. So if you are sure that you are not entering the marks above 100 and less than negative, then no need to write the last else. But if you want to check the condition to be on a safer side to make the program more interactive, you can include that else. But syntactically speaking, the last if need not have a corresponding else, right? So I'll write that statement over here, right, as a third one to be noted. uh, in nested if, the last if need not have corresponding else. Okay, means the corresponding else is optional. Need not means it is optional. Okay, the meaning of need not is optional. Okay. See, all these statements you will not find them in the textbook. They are all created by me on the fly. So it is better if you remember these things. Textbook has not elaborated all these things. Okay. Okay. Uh, this is about nested else if ladder. Sorry, it is not nested if. Sorry, it is in case of else if ladder. In else if ladder. In else if ladder. Sorry, need to excuse me for this. In else if ladder, the last if need not have the corresponding else. Okay, right. These are few points which I have made on the fly, so I am noting it down here, right? And this session is being recorded, and the video of the recorded session will be made available to you all, right? So this is about four types of decision making and branching. I said I will not take the switch statement at this stage. Depending on the time availability, it's already 11 o'clock, so I require 1 more hour for covering the loops. So at this stage I will skip temporarily. If time permits, I'll come back to switch. Otherwise you can refer it from the textbook, because switch has some disadvantages, wherein else if ladder is generic and can be used for all the scenarios, but a switch statement, to use switch statement your program definition must satisfy a few constraints, right? So that's why I'm not taking this switch statement at this stage. Okay. So at this stage, before moving on to the loops, at this stage, is anyone having any doubts? You can just post it in the chat. Okay, fine. Then I will take up the loops part. Right. So what is a loop? Loop is basically a set of statements which are to be repeated, okay, again and again till some condition is satisfied. Okay. So what is looping? I'm going to write here. Looping is a scenario where a set of statements are repeated again and again till some condition or till test condition is satisfied. Okay, see this definition again I have created it on the fly. You will not be finding the same definition from the textbook. Okay, they are my words, okay, which are created on the fly, right? So looping is a scenario wherein a set of statements are repeated again and again until some test condition is satisfied. Okay, right. What do I mean by this? Let us take an example now. As I said, these are all trivial examples. They are not of realistic nature, but they are useful to understand the loops. So the first loop that we have here in the listing is your while loop. Okay, so I'll take up that part, and also I will tell you the syntax of while loop. So I'll write while.c. What I want to do is I just want to display hello world 5 times. Okay, what is the way to do it without using loop? You just write printf hello world 5 times. Okay, but that will not be a that will be a horrible approach to write program. Okay, because if I ask you to write hello world 10 times, you will not be copying printf 10 times. If I tell you to ask do it for 100 times, it is just not possible to write printf 100 times. Okay, so the proper approach will be to use loops, and that statement of printf hello world should be repeated again and again till some condition is satisfied. And what is that condition? After displaying the fifth hello world, it should stop. That is, we call it as a test condition, right? So for this, to handle that test condition, we use one variable. We usually call it as I. That I stands for iteration. So one successful execution of a loop is referred to it as a iteration. So at this stage, I will write it here also. Okay, an iteration, this is the term that is used, an iteration. Those of you who are aware of machine learning, maybe they are in higher semesters IT branch, you might be aware of epochs and all those things, right? You might have heard that term. Even E&C students, electrical students might have heard that term, epochs, right? Even that epoch also, you can refer it as that iteration only. Okay, so an iteration is one successful execution of the body of the loop. Okay, so I'll come back to what is the meaning of body of the loop. The body of the loop is very similar to the body of the if else. Okay, it's just a syntax which we need to use. I'm going to show that, right? So what is an iteration? One successful execution of the body of the loop. So I am asking you to print hello world 5 times. So that loop has to be executed 5 times. So it has to execute that loop 5 iterations, right? So this I'm going to store it, this iteration value I'm going to store it in a variable called I. Okay, so that's why I'm going to create a variable named I, int I equal to 1. So 1 means initial iteration. Okay, that's the meaning of it, right? Fine. So I'm going to display hello world 5 times inside the loop. So this is how you use the while loop. You just write a keyword called while. So when you wrote while, it is displaying it in some yellow color, yellowish color. And similar to if, you need to write the test condition here, or that decision making here, right? Here I need to execute the body of the while till the value of I reaches 5 times, because I want to display the hello world 5 times. So I will write I less than or equal to 5. Okay, this is the test condition. We refer to it as the test condition. Okay, this is referred to it as test condition. Okay, so till this test condition is true, the body of the loop is executed. When the test condition becomes false, the body of the loop or the control comes out of the while loop or comes out of the any loop. Okay, right. What should I print? Just write printf hello world. Okay, right. Now I have executed the body of the loop. I need to increment the value of I because uh, I need to display the hello world 5 times. So how do I track that so many iterations have elapsed in the while loop? By putting the value of I, by incrementing the value of I by 1. So I'm going to write I equal to I plus 1, or you can also use the post or pre-increment operator, which we discussed in the yesterday's session, plus plus. So I can either write I plus plus or plus plus I. Okay, of course there is a difference between plus plus I and I plus plus, but in this scenario it doesn't make any difference. Both, see, even writing plus plus I is same as writing I plus plus, or if you write I equal to I plus 1, all these three are similar. Okay, so I'll go ahead with the standard procedure of a standard norm of writing incrementing I with I plus plus. Okay, right. So this is my program. This is the syntax of while loop. So what is the syntax of while loop? You are writing while, the keyword while, and inside this you are supposed to write the test condition. Okay, and this test condition can be what all things that are possible in test condition. It can be either a relational expression, it can be a logical expression. Okay, so all these things form the test condition. It can also be a variable. Okay, so this here it is a relational expression because I have used a relational operator. Okay, so I less than or equal to 5, I plus plus, right? So I'm going to compile this now. And yeah, one more thing I missed. So similar to if, whatever you want to you want to make it as a body of that particular while, you write those statements like printf hello world and I plus plus inside the flower brackets, a pair of left and right flower brackets. Okay, so this forms the body of the while loop. So what are the prerequisites, or what are the conditions that are to be taken while or what are the things that are to be remembered while writing programs on loops? The first thing is the initial condition. So this is called as initialization. Okay, initialization or initial condition. Okay, this is the initial condition. We need to also worry about the test condition, and we need to also worry about increment or decrement. Okay, I will just show you what happens if you miss any of this. Okay, so for a program which involves loops, these three are very much essential. What is that? Initial condition or initialization. Okay, then followed by test condition. I should not say that it is initial condition, it is initial values. Okay, condition is a relational expression or logical expression, but this is assignment expression, so I should say initial values. Okay, so for a program that involves loops, all of them have initialization or initial values. They also have test condition, they also have an optional increment or decrement. If you neglect, remove this, we'll see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to compile this now. Colon wq cc while.c, compilation successful, a dot out. You can see here hello world appeared 5 times. Okay, now can anyone tell me, I want to now display hello world 7 times. What is to be modified? I want to display hello world 7 times. What is to be modified? Do I need to modify test condition? If yes, what should be the relational expression that should be written inside the test condition? So can anyone comment on this? What should be the test condition so that the hello world prints 7 times, not 5 times? Yes, Lata, she has written while I less than or equal to 7. Yes, others, you can just give it a try. I'll just wait for a few seconds. If you are able to write it, yeah, Pavani is telling correct, correct. Santosh is telling 1 less than, it should be I less than. Okay, correct. Right. So all of them, those who have replied, they're all right. You just need to write this condition. Instead of I less than or equal to 5, you just write I less than or equal to 7. I'll just replace that 5 with 7. Okay. So again, save it, run it. Okay. We can now see here it has displayed 7 times. So how does this loop actually works? In fact, I have not covered it. I just showed the output directly. How it works is, it works like this. Okay. First, depending on the initial values, it checks whether the test condition of the loop is satisfies. So what is the initial value of I? It is 1. So is 1 less than or equal to 7? It is true. Hence, since this test condition returns true, it executes the body of the loop. And what is the body of the loop? It just displays hello world and also increments the value of I. So at the end of the first execution of the loop, which we refer to it as the iteration, so at the iteration, at the end of iteration number 1, the value of I is 2, because I was 1 and I now becomes 2. Then again it checks whether 2 is less than or equal to 7. Because 2 is less than or equal to 7, again prints hello world and I becomes 3. So at the end of the second iteration, the value of I is 3 and checks whether 3 is less than or equal to 7. True. Again prints hello world. Then I becomes 4. Like this. So I can write this as, in short, as a trace. So this is what we call it as a trace of a program. Okay. So it is very important to remember the trace. Okay. So I'm going to just write a trace of the program here. So initial value of I was 1, right? Initial value of I was 1. So iteration number 1, what is the test condition? I is 1, so I less than or equal to 7, which is actually true. Okay. So which is true. Okay. So what happens? It prints hello world, then I becomes 2. Okay. So this is the end of the first iteration. Okay. Right. So you can observe at the end of the first iteration, I will actually do it like this with dashes, so that you will come to know that this is the logical end of the first iteration. Okay. Right. So at the end of the first iteration of the body of the loop, what is the value of I? It is 2. So we do have the second iteration, because 2 is indeed less than 7. Okay. So it is true, right? So it prints hello world, right? So then I becomes 3. Okay. Right. So it goes on. So it goes on like this till how many times? Till iteration number 7. So in iteration 7, what happens? 7 is less than or equal to 7. Again it is true, right? So what happens? It prints hello world, prints hello world. Okay. Then I becomes 8. Okay. Right. The next important thing here is, now do we have the 8th iteration? Do we have the 8th iteration is the point of concern. What is your guess, whether do we have the 8th iteration or not? Do we have 8th iteration? Yes, students are responding. Yeah, so many of you are saying no. Yes, correct. Right. Good. You are all attentive. So you don't have the 8th iteration. The reason is, I tell you, if I write like this, iteration number 8, what is the test condition? I is 8, and the test condition will be, is 8 less than or equal to 7? No, it is not. So it is false, right? So you do not have the eighth iteration. So the loop will come out. It will not iterate again and again, right? So it will come out and simply program terminates. So it will not have that eighth iteration. Program terminates, because after the end of while I have not written anything, right? Just 1 second, I'm getting a call. Sir, hello sir, hello sir. Sir, it's going on, it's going on, no issues. It's okay sir, I'll manage. It's okay sir, I'll manage. No issues, no issues sir, I'll manage. Yes sir, yes, sir. Okay. Yeah. Okay, right. So you don't have the eighth iteration. So now this definition of iteration will become clear. So if I reread these two statements, you will be able to understand everything. So what is the looping? Looping is a scenario where a set of statements are repeated again and again till the test condition is satisfied. What is the meaning of test condition satisfied? It becomes true. So till the test condition becomes true, you keep on repeating the statement. In this scenario, what is the repeating statement? Printing the hello world is a repetitive statement. You are doing it again and again till this test condition becomes false. And what is iteration? An iteration is one successful execution of the body of the loop. Okay, so I am calling this as iteration number 1 because the test condition has become true and the body of the loop has been executed. Like this, I should not say that the program had 8th iteration, because after the 7th iteration, program did not execute the body of the while loop. So my program has only 7 iterations. In fact, this is very much evident from the program execution itself. You are able to see 7 hello worlds. You are not able to see the 8th hello world. That itself is the indication that program has 7 iterations, not the 8th iteration. So 8th iteration is not there. Okay, an iteration is a successful an iteration is one successful execution of the body of the loop. Here in iteration number 8, there is no execution of the body of the loop. Hence, iteration 8 is not available for the program. Okay, so please remember this fact while solving any programs, any damn program on loops. If you can remember these two aspects, it will really help you in writing the program, or when the solution will be discussed for assignments by respective faculties. It will really help you in understanding those programs in a better way. Okay, fine. So now we are done with the while loop. The same problem I can also demonstrate using for loop. Remember, while writing programs on loops, three things are to be remembered. Again, I'm going to write them here. What are those? Initialization or initial values are important. Then we have a test condition. Then we have, in fact they say it is optional depending on the problem scenario, but most of the time for first year level or for this course, you will end up in writing increment or decrement. Okay, right. So before taking, so these are the three important things, aspects that are to be remembered while designing or writing programs which involve loops. You must decide upon the initial values of the variables, and also decide upon their test condition, and also specify the increment decrement depending on the problem definition. Okay, right. Now what if I do not specify this increment decrement at all? Right, what do I mean by that? I open this program. What if I delete this statement? Means there is no increment decrement for this program. Now can anyone tell me what will happen to this program? I will not run it now, you try to give the answers. Yeah, Namira is telling, so we can write it like I greater than or equal to 5. Yes, it is possible, but when you write I greater than or equal to 5, your initial values should be altered, as well as you might have to decrement the value of I. So all those things have to be taken care. Okay, so the thing is, initial values, depending on the initial values you write the test condition, and depending on the test condition and initial values you decide whether it is to be increment or decremented. Okay, it's actually a good question Namira has asked. Okay, yeah, coming back to this scenario, an imaginary scenario here. What if I remove I plus plus from this program? What might happen? What is your guess? Yeah, Pavani is telling it doesn't print, it comes out of the loop. It may, Lata is telling it may print only one time. Sai is telling it doesn't increment at all. Yeah, yours is all right thinking, in the sense you are all giving it a good try. Let us see what happens. Okay, in fact, if you are very careful enough while writing the trace, while I was writing the trace, you would have got the answer, right? So what I have removed from my program is I plus plus. So what happens? This is done, this is removed. Okay, so after the end of the first iteration, what is the value of I? It is 1 only, correct? So in the second iteration, what happens? It is not 2 less than or equal to 0, it is 1 less than or equal to 0, and it prints hello world. So there is no increment, so I remains 1. So even after the end of 7th iteration, I will still remain 1. Okay, even at the end of 8th iteration, I will still remain 1. So what is happening here? An interesting thing is happening, and what is that? The test condition is never becoming false. What is the meaning of this? It is like it is getting stuck inside the while loop itself, right? Fine. So you can see here, this is a very strange behavior. So this program goes on and on, correct? It goes on and on. The test condition never becomes false, right? Fine. So let me compile this now. Run it. What you are able to observe here is, see that hello world is, you just stare at the right lower left part of the screen. It is simply keep on printing hello world. Okay. So this condition, I have actually terminated this process now by using Control C. This condition is referred to in a programming scenario as an infinite loop. Okay. Right. So what happens when the test condition never fails? The program goes in an infinite loop. So it is the developer's responsibility to ensure that the after some iteration, the test condition should be made false. If the test condition is never made false, if the test condition never made false, the program goes in an infinite loop. Okay, so a formal definition or a description of an infinite loop is, a loop is infinite if the test condition of the loop never fails. It is as simple as that. It is very simple, but it is very dangerous because program will never terminate. Okay, so a loop is infinite if the test condition of that loop never fails. Okay, so whose responsibility it is to make sure that at some iteration the test condition always fails? It is the programmer's responsibility. So how do you take care that test condition will fail eventually after some iteration? Only by performing increment or decrement based on the initial values, right? So you can see here, all these three seem independent of each other, but they are dependent on one another. So depending on initial values, you write the test condition, and to make the loop terminate, you write increment or decrement. Otherwise, if you do not write increment or decrement, test condition never becomes false. Okay, and it will always go in an infinite loop. It will never terminate. You need to terminate or close that process after some time. Okay, so this is achieved using Control C in Unix. Okay, so you can see here this C character is coming here. That is because I have pressed Control C. Okay, so I'm going to clear the screen. Hope this concept is clear. A loop is an infinite if the test condition will not will never become false. Okay, it should become false after some time. So you are supposed to design your initial values and test condition and increment decrement so that after some iterations it will become false. If it doesn't become false, it always goes in an infinite. Okay, right. So now we have seen these three important aspects of loop, like initialization, test condition and increment decrement. The based on the position of these three values or these three aspects, we have while loop as well as for loop. So the advantage of using for loop is that over while loop is that you can specify all these three in one loop itself. Okay, what do I mean by that is, if you see over here in while.c, I have initialization condition or initial values before the loop, start of the loop. You can see here I equal to 1 is placed before the start of the loop, and I plus plus here is inside the body of the loop, correct, and test condition is inside the parenthesis of while. So can I specify these three in the same body of the loop or in the same header of the loop? This is not possible with while, but this is possible with for. Okay, that's why we use for over while, because it is easier to read. Why it is easy? Because all three initialization or initial values, test condition as well as increment decrement, they are all put together in the header of the for itself. Okay, which makes it easier to understand and easier to write also, right? So I'll quickly copy this program and rewrite it as for.c. Okay, so I'll open this now and simply modify this program for using the for loop. Okay, so if you understand while, understanding other loops is just a matter of time. Okay, right. So now I can specify any default values for this I, doesn't matter. I can still start with I equal to 0, and this increment will now go from this body of the loop. You specify the initial values, test condition and increment decrement with the separation of commas, semicolons. Okay, so I'll now write I equal to 1. So this I equal to 1 is the initial values for start of this loop. Then you write the test condition. After writing the test condition, you put a semicolon, you write I plus plus. So you can see here it is very handy. This for loop is very handy. uh, all these three initial values, test condition, increment decrement are written in the same header. This is actually referred to it as a your Balaguru Swami textbook refers to this syntax as a header of for. Okay, so in for is convenient over while because all these three can be written in the header of for. Okay, and simply you write the body of the for loop, that's it. Okay, right. So I hope the syntax of for is clear. How this for works is very similar to while. This initial value will be executed only once, that too when the start of the loop. So initially I will be 1. The tracing of this is very similar to the while loop program. So initially I will be 1. Next we'll check the test condition. If I is less than or equal to 7, if it is true, prints the body of the loop, then immediately performs the increment or decrement, then again checks the test condition, prints the body of the loop, increment, test condition, prints, increment, test condition, prints, increment, test condition, goes on, so on and so forth till the test condition becomes false. So you can see here, while you are writing the trace of the program, whether you use while loop or for loop, it simply doesn't matter at all. The trace of the program will remain same. Okay, so logically speaking, both program should yield the same result. So let us see that. I have now compile this program. cc for.c /a .out. You can now see exactly the same output you got by using for loop. Okay, so it's just that it is more convenient for the developer over while. Okay. Any questions with respect to for? The real world problems on for will be discussed in the further sessions, as it is as the schedule is already shared with you all there. At that time that will be discussed. Okay, so here the focus is more on learning the syntax of for. Okay, so that you will understand better when those programs are taken. Okay, it seems there are no doubts at this stage, right? Okay, so these are the two types of loops, while and for. C also provides one more type of loop called as do while. Okay, right. So do while is actually referred to it as an exit control loop. So I had already written it here. Okay, uh, while and for are entry control loop, and do while is an exit control loop. I'll just like to take some time in telling the differences, small differences between both of them. A loop is actually an entry controlled when the test condition is checked initially. Okay, so before entering the body of the loop, I think it is better if I write it. Uh, in entry controlled loop, you will find the differences as a tabulated differences in your textbook, or if you refer in the internet. Okay, so in entry controlled loop, actually there are two types of entry control loops, for and while. There is only one exit control loop, which is do while. Okay, so in entry control loops, the test condition is positioned, a test condition is checked first. Okay, then the body of the loop gets executed. uh, I hope the meaning of this is straightforward to you all. So what is an entry control loop? And in an entry control loop, the test condition is checked first, and then the body of the loop gets executed if that test condition is true. In fact, this is what happened in the previous examples, right? In the previous examples, what happened? Suppose if I open this while, what happened? First, before entering the body of the loop, always the test condition is checked. If it is true, then only the body of the loop is executed. This is, we call it as an entry control loop. As the name itself suggests, entry controlled. What is meaning of entry controlled? Before executing the body of such loop, while or for loop, the test condition is always checked. Only if it is true, it executes the body of the loop. This is not true in case of exit control loop. Means you are checking the test condition at the end of the loop. Okay, so this test condition is positioned over here in the do while. Okay, so formally speaking about exit control loop, it goes like this. Again, these are not the exact definitions from the textbook. I'm just reframing it on the fly. In exit controlled loop, I'll just put spaces over here. In exit control loop, the test condition is checked after the body of the loop gets executed. Okay, so you are able to clearly see the one of the most important difference between an entry controlled loop and exit control loop. Exit spelling should be proper. I'll just correct it. Yeah, so what is the difference? In an entry controlled loop, the test condition is checked first, and then the body of the loop gets executed. What about exit control loop? In exit control loop, the test condition is checked after the body of the loop gets executed. So irrespective of the test condition, always the body of the loop gets executed first, and then the test condition is checked. Okay, so this is your exit control loop. So let me now write the same program to print hello world 7 times using do while, which is an exit controlled. So I copy this while.c program and change it as do while.c. So I'm going to modify and show you how to use do while, right? So this entire statement will now go after this. Okay, so as the name suggests, it is do while. Okay, so please see the difference or the syntax of do while. Initially when you are referring the syntax, it is bit confusing. Okay, and also to add salt to the wound, what I mean to say here is, at the end of while here you must have a semicolon. Okay, remember, semicolons are not at all used in end of if, end of else, in all those simple if else, nested if, if ladder, everywhere semicolon is not used as a termination character. Even in case of while and for, nowhere semicolon is used, but only in case of do while a semicolon is used at the end. Okay, so this is one of the confusing aspect of exit control loop, which is do while, with respect to the entry control loops for and while. For and while are straightforward, but do while is not so straightforward. Okay, now this is a program that demonstrates the use of do while. So you use do as a keyword and immediately write the body of that do while. Okay, and at the end of the while, at the end of this do while, you write a keyword called while. In a pair of parentheses you specify the test condition. Okay, so you are returning the same test condition, I less than or equal to 7, but at the end of this while you write a semicolon. Okay, at this stage, anyone having any doubts? Because initially do while is bit confusing compared to the entry control loop. Any doubts is anyone having? Okay, very good. Okay, so this is do while. I'll again repeat, you write do as a keyword and immediately write the body of that do while. What should act as the body of the do while? Then write while. Okay, okay, so now what will you think will be the output of this? Okay, so let us try to analyze this. Initially, immediately I is 1. Okay, so in the first iteration test condition is not checked at all. Immediately it prints hello world. Then I becomes 2, checks whether 2 less than or equal to 7, which is true, again prints hello world. I becomes 3, so on and so forth. Right, so let me run this program now. You can see exactly 7 times it prints 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Okay, now you might ask, both outputs are same, then what's the difference between entry control and exit control? One difference we had already seen, the body of the loop gets executed first, then the test condition is checked at the for the exit control, and in entry control always the test condition is checked first, then it decides whether the body of the loop gets executed or not. Okay, this is one difference. One more difference is, uh, suppose in the entry control loop, okay, in the entry control loop the test condition itself becomes false at the first iteration. Okay, in the entry control loop the test condition becomes false at the first iteration itself. What do I mean by that is, I have now made I as 8, so the initial value I have made it as 8. Instead of 1 I have made it as 8. Now what you will think will be the output of this? So first it will check the test condition. So 8 is 8 less than or equal to 7? Of course not. So it should not print anything, right? Okay, I'll compile this, clear the screen, run it. What you will observe is an empty output. Why you got an empty output? Because first, before entering the body of the loop, it always checks the test condition, and since the test condition failed in the first iteration itself, no part of the body of the loop got executed, means this program did not have any iteration of the loop. Now if I do the same modification in the do while, which is an exit control loop, let us see how this behaves. Okay, I open this program, simply change this initial value from 1 to 8. Okay, let's see. Before actually I run it, you just imagine what happens. So again I'll open this program. I have just made I equal to 1 changed it to 8. In the previous program on while, it did not show any output. Here let us see what happens. Of course you should have actually guessed it, like what will be the output. What you are seeing here is it displays the body of the loop. Correct? Correct? So this is the difference, one more difference between entry controlled and exit control loop. Okay, so you can guarantee in your entry exit control loop that the body of the loop gets executed at least once. Okay, okay, so this is the difference between exit controlled and entry control. In exit control loop, the body of the loop gets executed at least once. Why I am saying the term at least? Because irrespective of your initial values, irrespective of your test condition, since the test condition is checked at the end, always the body of the loop gets executed. Okay, so here what happens? Now I is 8. It doesn't matter whether the test condition is true or not. Simply initially the body of the loop gets executed, hello world gets printed. Now I becomes 9. Then it checks whether 9 is less than or equal to 7, which is false, so you don't have the next iteration, right? So one of the another most important difference between entry controlled and exit controlled loop is, I'm going to write it here. In exit controlled loop, the body of the loop gets executed at least once. So I'm making this in caps because it is very important. Okay, so you can guarantee that in exit control loops, the body of the loop gets executed at least once, irrespective of your test condition, irrespective of your initial values. Can I give that much of guarantee in entry control loop? No. Okay, so in entry control loop I cannot make such statements confidently. Okay, in entry control loop what happens? The body of the loop might get executed 0 or more times. Okay, 0 means what? No execution at all. Here in entry control loop, at least once, irrespective of your test condition, at least once the body of the loop gets executed. Okay, so this is the another important difference between entry controlled and exit controlled. Okay, any questions at this stage? Right, fine. So now I have discussed all three. Okay, there are two more things which will be again covered in the further sessions, like sometimes don't want to, I want to come out of the loop, come out of the loop without checking any condition, right? Say for example here in while.c, if you see here, if I make it as 1, okay, when will this while loop come out? Only when all the only when the test condition becomes false. But can I have a scenario wherein within the body of the loop, can I, depending on some condition, can I come out of the loop? Okay, say for example after executing fourth iteration, or I want to check the value of I. If the value of I is say 4, I immediately should come out without actually reaching the value of I 7. Is this possible? So these are referred to it as conditional breaks. Okay, so or this is achieved using break statement. Okay, so I can do this like this. Say I want to come out of this loop when the value of I becomes 4. So when the value of I becomes 4, I want to straight away come out of the loop. For this I use break. Okay, so this is actually called as a conditional jump. Okay, why it is called as conditional jump? Because on some specifying some conditions I am coming out of the loop. Conditional jumps and unconditional jumps, unconditional jump is actually a go to. They are discussed in detail in the textbook. You can just refer to that. And anyway, the programs on prime numbers and all those things, they rely heavily on usage of break. The respective faculty who is assigned for solving those solutions will be handling those programs in detail. So at that time they will be showing you the difference between break and go to as well as continue. Okay, so break is used to come out of the loop when you want to have some condition over here, right? So this program, when I run it, will always come out when the value of I reaches 4. So it will only display the hello world 4 times. Okay, so of course this is not a real world example or real world scenario of using break, but as a just to introduce you to the syntax of break, I am just showing this. Okay, so this is the use of break. So if I compile this now, so you can see here now the program displays only 4 times. The reason is because when the value of I becomes 4, I am saying break. And also you will notice, you have noticed one more thing. I have not used for this if the flower brackets. Okay. The reason is, if the body of this if is having only one statement, then the flower brackets are optional. Okay. Optional means if you still want to use it, you can. So I can still write it like this, no harm done. Okay, so if this is confusing for you, if this statement that I made is confusing for you, you can just leave it out, right? So why this works only 4 times? Because when I reaches 4, so that condition is satisfied, so I am specifying break. Break means I will come out of the loop immediately, right? There is one more way, there is one more thing in which you can control the body of the loop execution, which is continue. Okay, so break and continue are used for few purposes. You might not see the program, much programs on usage of continue. So continue is also one more keyword, right? So the behavior of continue is exactly the opposite of break. So break comes out of the loop, continue continues with the next iteration of the loop. Okay, so when I equal to 4, when I write, when I becomes 4, it simply continues. It means it will not increment here, simply it checks the test condition. So again 4 will be less than or equal to 7, again it continues. Okay, so it's not a real world example here, so I will not run this because this will go in an infinite loop. So just remember that continue is also one more keyword, right? So break and continue are two possible ways of conditional jumps. Okay, so break will immediately come out of the loop, and continue will continue from the next iteration of the loop. So continue will not come out of the loop, break will come out of the loop. Okay, so go to is one more different keyword altogether, we are not discussing that. Okay, so you'll be seeing break in the programs in the further sessions. Okay, so all these things I wanted to tell in this session. So I have almost come to the end of the session, so I'll quickly revise the things that were covered in today's session. So there are four ways to perform decision making and branching. One is using simple if, second one is using if else, third one is using nested if, fourth one is using else if ladder. Apart from this, you can also use switch statements. Also, you can use ternary operator for doing decision making and branching, but preferred way is usage of these four. Okay. There are few things to be noted here while remembering or doing decision making and branching. There can be one if without else. There cannot be an else without if. In else if ladder, in case of an else if ladder, the last if need not have the corresponding else, means the else for the last if is optional. Okay, this is all about decision making and branching features in C. Coming to the loops, there are various ways to perform decision making and looping in C by using three types of loops. One is while loop, for loop, second one is for loop, and third one is do while loop. um, while loop and for loop are referred to it as entry control loops because before the body of the loop gets executed, the test condition is always checked. Do while is referred to it as the exit control loop because irrespective of the test condition, always the body of the loop is executed first, then the test condition is executed at the end, before the end, after the end of the, or after the exit of the loop. Hence it is referred to it as exit control loop. So the formal definition or description of entry control loop goes like this. In entry controlled loops, in entry control loops, the test condition, in entry control loops, the test condition is checked first, then the body of the loop gets executed. In exit control loop, the test condition is checked after the body of the loop gets executed. So you can also think of it as a difference between these two. Most of the time in the examination, it's a famous question contender for 5 to 8 marks. Tabulate the differences between entry controlled and exit control loops with block diagrams or flowcharts. So you can put the flowcharts. Flowchart, the difference between flowchart of entry control and exit control is given in the textbook. You can refer that. Okay. So in exit control loop, the body of the loop gets executed at least once. So this is the guarantee given by exit control loop, and there is no such guarantee given by the entry control loop. So in entry control loop, the body of the loop might get executed 0 or more times. Okay, right. Looping is a scenario where a set of statements are repeated again and again till the test condition is satisfied. Okay, an iteration is one successful execution of the body of the loop. A loop is infinite if the test condition of the loop never fails. So all these three are very important. Please remember, and any program on loop has these three elements: initialization or initial values, test condition, followed by increment decrement. All these three has to be decided by the developer depending on the problem definition. So if your understanding of the problem definition is clear, you will be easily able to design the all design these three elements. Okay, that is your initial value of the variables, test condition, as well as increment decrement. Okay, so any doubts at this stage? Because I have almost come to the end of this session. Any doubts? I'll wait for a few seconds. If you have any doubts, you can ask. Okay then. So this is what I wanted to discuss. I hope the session was useful for you all. From tomorrow onwards, as per the schedule, the solutions will be discussed in detail by the corresponding faculty members. So I'll again come into picture in the last part of the schedule, wherein I'll be discussing IA1 assignment who remained absent, the solutions for that, as well as PSPC lab term works. So those of you who are appearing for who have registered students for lab, for them it will be useful. Of course, the solution has been mailed to you all. Before coming for the tomorrow's session onwards, you please study those programs in detail and then come. Okay, so that faculty will be able to cover it in a much faster rate, because more programs are to be covered in a shorter duration, in just 2 hours, right? So it should not show up and that it should overshoot after 2 hours, right? So I am not seeing any doubts at this stage. So with this, I will end this session. Thank you all for attending the session. Okay then, you all can log out. Bye.